Talk a lot about building puppets and putting the puppets on screen. We never really talk much about the individual parts of the puppets. So I'm working on two puppets for episode 2 right now. Two of the background characters. They're two unit officers, and I've got their headpieces here. This happens to be the chin of, let's see, which one is this? This looks like the commander. And the smaller one here is the chin of sort of the subordinate officer. And these are the two crowns, the headpieces. Now, my headpieces can come all as one unit, or they can come in individual pieces like this. Here's a finished one. And you see how it's got sort of a profile that's like a human head. However, it's also got a chin, a much more pronounced chin. Now, if you remember the way the Doctor looked, and Betsy, they had sharper chins. So it really depends on what I'm looking. And the way the pattern is designed is I can change the chin to be anything I want, which gives me a lot of freedom over how the puppet can look using the same head shell pattern as well as the same skin pattern, which is very beneficial for when you're trying to save time. So when you're streamlining patterns, it's a very good way of doing it. So over here, in what I like to call the body bucket, which is a very macabre, and now that I sound it, very serial killer kind of way of putting it, we have different kinds of bodies. So here's a very basic head shell, which is for some of my smaller sort of novelty puppets. And here's a body that goes along with that, very small as you can see, but these work really great for people who want a puppet as like a novelty gift, but don't really have, or don't want to spend a lot of money on a puppet. Now, the type of body we're looking for is the larger body, which is this one here. And this is like the Doctor's body. So if we bring this guy over here, and let's assume that this head back here, because it's already done, is the head of our commanding officer. So he would sit like this. And you could see how he would have a little bit more. See, his head would be about like this. Really hard to do this while holding it at the same time. So you can see how he would kind of look. Now the bodies you see in the back, these three are actually twice the size in some cases, as you can see, as the bodies that we use for our show. Even the smallest one over there is twice that size. And those are designed more for stage shows. Specifically, a friend of mine's stage show in Arizona. So just going over a little bit about puppets. And of course, this is another kind of head shell here. We have a lot of different kinds of patterns and head shells that we use to create the individual pieces that we need to use. And you can see in the body bucket, there's a lot of different types of pieces for different characters that we're currently working on. So some of them are for our show, some of them are for other people's productions, and some are for Christmas presents and various other things. So we've got a lot of projects going on at one time, and we're very excited about, of course, the Doctor Who projects. Okay, so this, of course, you'll recognize is Mike from episode 1. Now, Mike is much larger than the typical Doctor Who puppets that we've been building. He was originally built for a stage show. So if you take a look at Mike's arms here, of course, they are a two-person puppet. They're a glove arm like Cookie Monster or like Oscar the Grouch or Rolf the Dog, or if you're a fan of the Muppets, you'll know multiple different kinds of them. You can see our stacks of wigs and other various things back here. Part of the bottom of a rabbit. There's aliens and big fur shoes all over the place. Anyway, so Mike originally was so large, and we didn't really want to build a puppet just for a character who only had one small set of lines. So what we decided to do was take a character we already had, repurpose him, and in the computer we shrank him down so that he was the same scale as Betsy. But he's still got a much longer body than Betsy has, all the way to the head and to the neck. You can see how much bigger he is in comparison to like a body like Betsy's, which is over there. So it was difficult. We even squished him a little bit in the computer to make him look a little less sort of elongated. But it worked really rather well, I think. So those are what we're working on right now. And as they get further along, I'll show some more shots of the puppets.